The council chamber was massive. It stretched nearly half a mile across, with curved walls that reached up into darkness. Thousands of seats surrounded the central platform in rising circles. Each seat held a representative from a different world. Some were tall and thin, others were short and wide. Some breathed oxygen, others needed special suits filled with different gases. But today, they all stared at the same thing: the human ambassador standing alone on the platform. Corinne Phillips looked calm. She wore a simple gray suit that Earth diplomats favored. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat style. She stood with her hands clasped in front of her, waiting. Next to her stood Commander Brandon, a military officer in his dark blue uniform. His face showed nothing. No worry, no fear, just patience. Above them, High Counselor rose from his seat. He was a member of the most feared warrior race in the known galaxy. His species stood nearly 8 feet tall. Their skin had thick scales that could stop most weapons. 4 arms extended from his massive body. Each arm ended in clawed hands. His face had sharp angles and teeth that looked like knives. When he spoke, his voice boomed through the chamber. "I call this emergency session to order," announced. "The Empire has a declaration to make, one that will change the future of this galaxy." The chamber fell silent. Even the constant whispers and small movements stopped. Everyone waited. "The Empire hereby declares its intention to invade the human," said. "We will attack Earth within one standard cycle. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact." The silence broke. Hundreds of voices rose at once. Ambassadors turned to each other, speaking rapidly in dozens of languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up. The noise grew louder and louder. Corinne did not move. She simply looked up with calm eyes. Brandon shifted his weight slightly but otherwise remained still. Ambassador is a being that looked like a floating mass of tentacles, activated his speaking device. "High Counselor, this is madness. The humans have done nothing to warrant such action." "They expand too quickly," replied. "In just 200 years, they have claimed 30 systems. They push into territories that were marked as neutral zones by ancient treaties. They build colonies where they should not. They must be stopped before they become a threat to us all." Another voice joined in. Ambassador, whose species looked like walking crystals, spoke with a tone that sounded like bells. "High Counselor, I urge you to reconsider. Earth is not defenseless. They are not the primitive world you think they are." "We have studied them," said, his 4 arms spread wide. "Our intelligence shows they have perhaps 500 warships, maybe less. Their technology is inferior. They use kinetic weapons and simple explosives. We have plasma cannons that can crack planets. We have shields that can withstand solar flares. We have fought and won wars for 800 years. We have never lost a single conflict." "That is precisely why you should not do this," insisted. "The humans are dangerous, not because of their weapons but because of something else, something you do not understand." Laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. "Dangerous. They are children playing with fire. We will teach them their place in this galaxy." Corinne finally spoke. Her voice was quiet but clear. "High Counselor, may I address the council?" Gestured with one massive hand. "Speak, human. Beg for mercy if you wish. It may save some of your people." Corinne walked forward 3 steps. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with many of the ambassadors. "I will not beg," she said. "Instead, I will ask you a simple question. High Counselor, why did you announce this invasion to the Council? Why not simply attack?" The question caught off guard. He paused for a moment. "They do not hide their intentions. We are warriors, not cowards. We announce our wars so that history remembers our victories properly." "I see," Corinne said. She nodded slowly. "Then you are giving us time to prepare." "You may prepare all you wish," said. "It will not matter. Our fleet already gathers at the edge of your solar system. 5,000 warships. The largest invasion force they have ever assembled. In 48 hours they will advance. Your world will fall in less than a day. Brandon leaned close to Corinne and whispered something. She nodded and turned back to, "We request those 48 hours to consult with our government, to inform our people of what is coming." "Granted," said immediately. "Use that time to evacuate your civilians if you can. Do not wage war on the helpless, only on those who stand against us." "How generous," Corinne said. Her tone did not sound grateful. It sounded almost amused. Ambassador spoke again. "High Counselor, I must protest this action in the strongest terms. The coalition will not support this war. We will remain neutral, but we condemn this decision." Other voices joined in. Nearly a third of the council stood and announced their opposition. They called it unjust. They called it unnecessary. They called it dangerous. But another third remained silent. These were the species that feared they would not speak against such a powerful empire. The final third seemed uncertain. They looked between thee and the humans, trying to decide what to think. Through it all, Corinne and Brandon stood quietly. They did not argue. They did not plead. They simply waited for the chaos to die down. Finally raised all four arms. "Silence," he commanded. The chamber obeyed. "The decision is made. Those who oppose it may do so in words. Those who support humanity may do so with thoughts and prayers. But in 48 hours the fleet will advance. Earth will surrender or Earth will burn. This session is concluded." The council began to break apart. Ambassadors left their seats and moved toward the exits. Many headed straight for Corinne and Brandon. Reached them first. "Ambassador Phillips," they said quietly, "I am sorry. We will do what we can diplomatically, but they cannot be swayed once they commit to war." "I understand," Corinne said. "Thank you for speaking up." "Please," is said. His tentacles moved in a pattern that his species used to show deep concern. "Evacuate your people, especially your young ones. They keep their word about not targeting civilians, but war is chaos. Accidents happen." "We will take all necessary precautions," Corinne replied. Approached next. The crystal being's body reflected the lights of the chamber in rainbow patterns. "I tried to warn him," said. "I have studied human military doctrine. I know what you are capable of." "And what are we capable of?" Brandon asked. It was the first time he had spoken during the session. His body dimmed slightly. "Winning," he said simply. Then he moved away, joining the flow of ambassadors leaving the chamber. Soon Corinne and Brandon stood alone on the platform. Above them, remained in his seat. He looked down at them with eyes that glowed faintly red. "You should be afraid," he called down. "You should be running to your ships to warn your world." Corinne looked up at him. A small smile touched her lips. "High Counselor," she said, "in 48 hours you will understand something important. You will learn why every species in this chamber tried to stop you. You will discover why we are not afraid." She turned and walked toward the exit. Brandon followed her. Their footsteps echoed in the now empty chamber. Watched them go. For just a moment something like doubt crossed his face. Then he shook his massive head and stood. The humans were bluffing. They had to be. Nothing could stand against the might of the Empire. Nothing ever had before. Corinne walked through the corridor outside the council chamber. Brandon stayed close beside her. The walls here were made of some material that seemed to shift colors, blue to green to purple. It was meant to be calming. Right now, it was not working on most of the ambassadors hurrying past them. Several beings stopped them along the way. Each one offered sympathy or advice. Some looked at Corinne with pity. Others looked at her with curiosity. A few looked at her with something else. Recognition, maybe, or respect. "Ambassador Phillips." The voice came from behind them. Corinne turned to see Ambassador Aura approaching. She was like but her tentacles were darker and moved more slowly. She had been a council member for nearly 60 years. "May I speak with you privately?" Corinne nodded. "Of course, Ambassador." Aura gestured toward a side chamber. The three of them entered and the door sealed behind them. The room was small and plain, just a table and some chairs that could adjust for different species. No one sat. "I want you to understand something," Aura said. "They are not cruel, they are proud, yes, arrogant, certainly, but they believe they are protecting the galaxy. In their history, they were once conquerors. They took worlds and enslaved populations. Then they were defeated by an alliance of species. That defeat taught them honor. Now they see themselves as peacekeepers. They stop wars before they start." "By starting wars?" Brandon asked. "By demonstrating strength," Aura replied. "They believe that if they show overwhelming power, others will not dare to fight. It has worked for them for centuries. Species negotiate rather than resist. They get what they want without extended conflict. Few die. The galaxy stays stable." "But we are different," Karen said. It was not a question. "Yes," Aura said. Her tentacles moved in a pattern that meant sadness. "You are different. You expand rapidly but peacefully. You trade with everyone, you share technology, you help colonies in need. You do not threaten anyone, but to those your growth itself is a threat. They see what you could become. They fear it." "So they attack before we become dangerous," Karen said. "Exactly." Aura moved closer. "I have access to intelligence reports, not official ones but reliable sources. The fleet gathering at your border is not just large, it is equipped with their best weapons, is not taking chances. He means to crush Earth completely, to make an example that will last for generations." Brandon crossed his arms. "How many ships exactly?" 5,000 warships, Aura said. "But not just any ships. These are their grand fleet. Each ship carries enough firepower to level a city. Their flagship alone has weapons that could destroy your moon." Karen nodded slowly. "Thank you for this information, Ambassador. We appreciate your concern." "Concern?" Aura's tentacles trembled. "Ambassador Phillips, I do not think you understand. They have never lost a war. They have never even come close to losing. They have fought species with advanced shields. They have fought species with powerful weapons. They have fought against alliances of multiple worlds. They won every time, every single time." "I understand," Corinne said. "Do you?" Aura moved even closer. "I have seen what their weapons can do. I was present at the Battle of Nexus Prime. I watched them tear apart a defended world in 3 hours. 3 hours, Ambassador. The defenders had 800 ships, the lost only 17. "We will be careful," Karen assured her. Aura's tentacles went still. That meant frustration in her species. "You do not seem worried." "Would being worried help?" Karen asked gently. "No," Aura admitted, "but it would be normal. Every species shows fear when facing you show nothing. Why?" Karen glanced at Brandon. He gave a tiny nod. She turned back to Aura. "Because Earth has faced extinction before. Many times, we have fought wars that nearly destroyed our entire species. We have faced diseases that killed billions. We have survived asteroid impacts and climate disasters. We are still here. We are still standing. Fear does not help us survive. Preparation does." "Preparation," Aura repeated. "Against 5,000 warships, against weapons that can crack planets. What preparation could possibly be enough?" Brandon spoke up. "The kind we have been working on for 200 years." Aura looked at him, then at Karen. Then her tentacles began moving in rapid, complex patterns. It took Karen a moment to recognize what they meant, understanding, and something else. Hope, maybe. "I see," Aura said quietly. "The other ambassadors were right to warn. He should have listened." She moved toward the door, then paused. "Whatever happens in 2 days, Ambassador Phillips, know that the coalition will remember how this war started. We will remember who was the aggressor. History will record the truth." The door opened and she left. Karen and Brandon stood alone in the small room. "She knows," Brandon said. "She suspects," Karen corrected. "She does not know, nobody does, that was the whole point." "Do you think the plan will work?" Karen smiled. "The plan already worked. We have been quiet, we have been peaceful, we have been friendly. And because of that, every major species in the galaxy thinks we are weak. They think we are helpless. They are about to learn differently." They left the room and continued down the corridor. Their quarters were 3 sections away. The council station was enormous. It had to be to house thousands of ambassadors and their staff. Corinne and Brandon passed gardens filled with plants from 100 worlds. They walked by water features that bubbled with liquid methane for species that lived in cold environments. They saw restaurants serving food that would kill most species but was delicious to others. Finally, they reached the human section. The door recognized them and opened. Inside, their staff was already working. Screens showed news feeds from Earth. Other screens displayed military reports. A secure communication system sat ready in the center of the main room. "Get me strategic command," Corinne said. "Priority 1 encryption." A young woman named Lisa worked the communication station. She had been with the diplomatic corps for 5 years. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls. "Connecting now, Ambassador." The main screen flickered. Then it showed a room on Earth. The view was from a military facility deep underground. 2 people sat at a conference table. General Lisa Mendoza, head of Earth's Strategic Defense Command. Next to her sat Secretary of Defense. "Ambassador Phillips," General Mendoza said, "we have been watching the council feed. They have made their move." "Yes, General," Corinne replied. "They announced their invasion, 5,000 warships. They will attack in 48 hours." 5,000, repeated. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, but those eyes were sharp. "That is their entire grand fleet. They are not holding anything back." "No, sir," Brandon said. "They mean to crush us completely." "Well," General Mendoza said. She leaned back in her chair. "That is unfortunate for them." She did not sound worried. She sounded almost bored. "What are your recommendations, General?" Corinne asked. "We have 3 options," Mendoza said. She brought up a display that showed numbers and ship classifications. "Option 1, we deploy the full fleet, all 8,000 warships. We meet them at the edge of the solar system and destroy them before they get close to Earth." "That seems excessive," said. "Agreed," Mendoza nodded. "Option 2, we deploy a standard defense force, around 1,500 ships. We engage them in orbit and show them that we can defend our—" "That seems more reasonable," Corinne said. "What is option 3? Mendoza smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Option 3, we let them come all the way in. We activate the grid. We show them exactly how unprepared they are. We make them surrender without destroying their entire fleet." Tapped his fingers on the table. "Option 3 sends a stronger message. It shows restraint. It shows that we could have destroyed them but chose not to. It also reveals more of our capabilities," Brandon pointed out. "True," admitted. "But they are about to tell everyone in the galaxy about this war. Once it starts, our secret is out anyway. We might as well make sure the lesson is clear." Corinne thought about it. She thought about arrogance. She thought about Aura's fear. She thought about all the species in the galaxy who assumed humanity was weak. "Option 3, she said. "But modify it. Send 3 battle groups, 900 ships total, enough to look like we are taking them seriously, not enough to look like we are trying to overwhelm them." "They will think we are underestimating them," Mendoza said. "Good," Corinne replied. "Let them think that. Let them come in confident, let them get close, then show them the truth." Nodded, agreed. "General, you have your orders, 3 battle groups, defensive formation. Wait until they are committed, then activate all systems." "Yes, sir," Mendoza said. "I will have Admiral Torres lead the defense. She is our best tactician, and she knows how to end a fight quickly." "One more thing," Corinne said. "Minimize casualties on both sides. They keep their word about not targeting civilians. We should show the same honor. Disable their ships if possible. Destroy them only if necessary." Understood, Mendoza said. We will make it clear that we could have killed them all but chose not to. The communication ended. The screen went dark. Karen stood in the quiet room with her staff around her. They all looked at her, waiting. Begin evacuation procedures for all non-essential personnel from Earth orbit, she said. Not because we need to, but because it will look right. Make sure they can see the evacuation. Let them think we are afraid. What about us? Lisa asked. Do we evacuate from the station? No, Karen said. We stay here, we watch. When the fleet arrives at Earth, I want to see our faces. I want him to see that we are not running, that we never were. Brandon walked to the window. Outside, stars filled the view. Somewhere out there, 5,000 warships were preparing to jump to Earth. They were loading weapons. They were running drills. They were getting ready to crush humanity. They have no idea what is waiting for them, Brandon said quietly. No, Karen agreed. They really do not. Fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. 5,000 warships hung in the darkness near Jupiter's orbit. Each ship was massive. The smallest ones were half a mile long. The largest, the flagship Devastating Fury, stretched nearly 3 miles from bow to stern. Its hull was covered in thick armor that could withstand direct hits from most weapons. Its weapons arrays could target 100 enemy ships at once. Fleet Commander X stood on the bridge of the Devastating Fury. He was even larger than High Counselor. His 4 arms were thick with muscle. Scars covered his scaled skin. Each scar told a story of a battle won. He had commanded fleets for 40 years. He had never lost, not once. Status report, X commanded. His voice was deep and rough. All ships report ready, Commander, his tactical officer replied. She was young for a warrior, only 25 years old, but she had already proven herself in 3 campaigns. Weapons charged, shields at maximum, formation holding perfectly. Good, X looked at the display showing the fleet arrangement. They were organized in a classic attack pattern. The heavy cruisers formed the center. They would absorb enemy fire and return it with devastating effect. The destroyers spread out on the flanks. They would encircle any defending force and attack from multiple angles. The carriers stayed in the rear. They held thousands of fighters ready to launch. Behind everything, the Devastating Fury waited. It would enter the battle only if needed. Usually, it was not needed. What do we know about Earth's defenses? X asked. His intelligence officer brought up new displays. Long-range scans show movement in Earth orbit. We detect approximately 300 ships. They are organized into 3 groups. Each group has 1 capital ship, supporting cruisers and various smaller vessels. 300 ships against our 5,000, X said. Did they evacuate the rest of their fleet? Are they hiding somewhere? Unknown, Commander, the intelligence officer said. But our information suggests this is their entire defensive force. Humans do not have the industrial capacity to build more than a few hundred warships. X nodded. It made sense. Earth was young. Their colonies were small. They simply did not have the resources to build a large fleet. 300 ships was probably every vessel they had that could fight. They are brave, X said. Foolish but brave, they could have surrendered. Instead, they choose to face us. It will be a short fight, his tactical officer said. Yes, X agreed. But we will honor their courage. When they surrender, we will treat them with respect. We will occupy their world, but we will not enslave their people. They will learn that they can be merciful. He turned to his navigation officer. Begin the advance. Full fleet. Maintain formation. We jump to Mars orbit in 30 minutes. From there, we will engage the human fleet and push through to Earth. The order went out. 5,000 ships began to move. Their engines created waves of energy that rippled through space. The fleet accelerated slowly. There was no rush. The humans had nowhere to run. On Earth, in the underground facility that housed Strategic Command, General Lisa Mendoza watched the displays. The fleet was moving exactly as predicted. They were confident. They were organized. They were about to learn a very painful lesson. "Status of our forces?" she asked. "Battle Group Alpha is in position near Earth orbit," her operations officer reported. "Battle Group Beta is stationed near the Moon. Battle Group Gamma is holding at Mars distance. All ships report ready." "And the grid?" "All defense platforms are active but running silent. They appear as regular satellites to any scan. They will not detect them until we power them up." Mendoza nodded. The grid was Earth's secret weapon. Thousands of platforms hidden throughout the solar system. Each one was small enough to avoid attention, but each one carried weapons powerful enough to cripple a warship. Together, they created a network of firepower that could engage enemies from every angle. "Admiral Torres, are you ready?" Mendoza asked. On another screen, Admiral Torres appeared. She was on the bridge of the EDF Valiant, the flagship of Battle Group Alpha. She was a tall woman with dark skin and sharp eyes. She had commanded ships for 20 years. She knew every trick, every tactic, every way to win a fight. "Ready, General," Torres said. "My crews are at their stations. Weapons are charged but not locked. We are playing the part of confused defenders. When they arrive, we will hail them. We will try to negotiate. We will give them every chance to turn around." "They will not take it," Mendoza said. "No," Torres agreed. "They will not, and then we will show them why that was a mistake." Captain Daniel Warren stood on the bridge of the EDF Valiant next to Admiral Torres. He was younger than most captains, only 38 years old, but he had earned his position through skill and bravery. He looked at the officers around him. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Stephen Park, was running final checks on the weapon systems. His navigation officer was plotting intercept courses. His communications officer was preparing the hailing frequencies. Everyone was calm. Everyone was ready. They had trained for this moment for years, not because they wanted war, but because they knew eventually someone would challenge Earth. Someone would see humanity's rapid growth and feel threatened. Someone would attack. Today, that someone was the Captain. Stephen Park said, "I am detecting the fleet. They just jumped to Mars orbit. They are 3 million kilometers away and closing." "Put them on screen," Torres ordered. The main display changed. It showed space near Mars, and there, like a swarm of insects, the fleet appeared. Thousands of ships, each one bristling with weapons, each one ready to fight. "That is a lot of ships," someone whispered. "Yes, it is," Torres said calmly. "But remember your training. Remember what we are defending. And remember that every single ship out there thinks we are easy prey. Let's show them how wrong they are." "Incoming hail from the flagship," the communications officer announced. "Put it through," Torres said. The screen split. On one side, the fleet continued its advance. On the other side, Fleet Commander X appeared. His massive form filled the screen. His 4 arms were visible. His face looked fierce. "Human vessels," X said. "I am Fleet Commander X of the Empire. You are ordered to stand down and surrender. Power down your weapons. Withdraw to Earth orbit. Do this and your crews will be treated fairly." Torres stepped forward. "Fleet Commander, I am Admiral Torres of the Earth Defense Force. You are entering our solar system with hostile intent. We ask that you withdraw. We do not wish for war, but we will defend our home." X laughed. The sound was loud and harsh. "Admiral, you have 300 ships, I have 5,000. Your weapons are inferior. Your shields are weak. You cannot win this fight. Surrender now and save your people." "Our weapons and shields are sufficient," Torres replied. "Commander, I will give you one chance. Turn your fleet around. Leave our system. We will forget this invasion ever happened. There is no shame in avoiding a fight you do not need to have." "No shame?" X leaned forward. His eyes glowed brighter. "Admiral, they have fought wars for 800 years. We have crushed empires. We have defeated alliances. We have never lost. Not once. What makes you think you can stand against us?" Torres was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, a sad smile. Commander X, has it occurred to you to wonder why so many ambassadors at the Council tried to stop this war? Has it occurred to you that maybe, just maybe, they knew something you did not? X's expression changed, just for a second. Then his face hardened again. Enough talk, all ships advance. Engage the human fleet, disable their vessels if possible, destroy them if necessary. The communication cut off. The screen showed only the fleet now, and it was moving fast. They are accelerating, Stephen Park reported. Their forward elements will be in weapons range in 2 minutes. All ships battle stations, Torres ordered. But hold your fire, I want them closer. I want them committed. Admiral, Captain Warren said quietly. At this range, they could still retreat. Once they get closer, once the fighting starts, they will not run, even if they realize they are losing. I know, Torres said, but we need to give them a reason to stay. If we destroy them from long range, they will think we just have good weapons. We need to let them see everything. We need to make sure they understand exactly how outmatched they are. Only then will this lesson mean something. The fleet closed the distance. The massive ships moved in perfect formation. Destroyers led the way. Behind them came the heavy cruisers. The carriers stayed back but launched their fighters. Thousands of small craft poured out like angry insects. 1 minute to weapons range, Park announced. Power up all weapons, Torres said. Lock targets but do not fire. I want them to see we are ready. The Valiant and the other Earth ships powered up their systems. Energy readings spiked. They would detect it. They would see that the humans were not running, that they were standing and fighting. 30 seconds. Torres took a deep breath. Around her the bridge crew waited. They trusted her. They were ready. 15 seconds. On the flagship, X watched the human fleet. So few ships, so much courage, it was admirable. But courage without strength was meaningless. All ships open fire, he commanded. The fleet fired. Thousands of plasma weapons activated at once. The space between the two fleets turned bright with energy. Beams of superheated plasma crossed the distance. They moved fast, too fast for most ships to dodge. But the human ships were not trying to dodge. Their shields came up. The plasma hit the shields and something impossible happened. The shields held, they flickered, they flared bright, but they held. What? X stared at the display. How are their shields that strong? Intelligence said they had basic deflector technology. Commander, their shields are absorbing our fire, his tactical officer said. Her voice was uncertain. Our weapons should be cutting through, but they are not. Concentrate fire, X ordered. Focus on their flagship, destroy it. 200 ships turned their weapons on the Valiant. Plasma weapons fired together. The combined firepower could have destroyed a small moon. It all hit the Valiant's shields. The shields blazed with light. They looked like a star, but still they held. On the Valiant's bridge, alarms sounded. Shields at 70%, Park reported. They are hitting us hard. Return fire, Torres said calmly. All ships weapons free. Show them what Earth's weapons can do. The EDF Valiant fired, and they learned their second lesson of the day. Human weapons were not inferior. They were not basic. They were terrifying. The Valiant's main cannons were rail guns, magnetic accelerators that fired solid projectiles at a percentage of light speed. The projectile was simple metal, but at that speed, simple metal became devastating. The rail gun round hit a heavy cruiser. It went through the ship's shields like they were not there. It punched through the armor. It tore through the inside of the ship. It came out the other side, and the cruiser exploded. 1 shot, 1 kill. Impossible, X whispered. Then he started shouting. All ships, evasive action. Do not let them target you. Return fire. Destroy those ships. The space near Mars became a storm of fire and light. Plasma beams crossed paths with rail gun rounds. Shields flared and failed. Ships exploded. And the fleet began to realize they were not winning. X gripped the arms of his command chair. His four hands dug into the metal hard enough to leave marks. On every screen around him he saw the same thing. His ships dying, not slowly, not after long battles, but quickly, efficiently, like the humans knew exactly where to shoot. "Status report," he demanded. His tactical officer's voice shook. "We have lost 417 ships, Commander. Another 600 are damaged and withdrawing. The humans have not lost a single vessel." "Not one." X could not believe it. "We have been firing on them for 10 minutes. How have we not destroyed even one ship?" "Their shields regenerate too fast, Commander. Our weapons damage them, but they recover between volleys. And their weapons are cutting through our defenses like they do not exist." Captain Daniel Warren watched his tactical display with satisfaction. They were brave. They kept fighting even as their ships fell, but bravery was not enough. Lieutenant Stephen Park coordinated the weapon's fire with perfect precision. "Target the engines on that destroyer," Park said. 2 rounds from Railgun 3. The weapon fired. 2 metal slugs flew across the space. They hit exactly where Park aimed. The destroyer's engines exploded. The ship went dark. It tumbled away, disabled but not destroyed. "Crew is alive," Park reported. "They will need rescue, but they are not in immediate danger." "Good," Captain Warren said. "Continue disabling enemy ships. Only destroy those that cannot be stopped otherwise." Admiral Torres stood with her hands behind her back. She looked calm, but her mind was racing. The battle was going exactly as planned, maybe too well. They were supposed to be the strongest military force in the galaxy. They were supposed to be unbeatable, but here they were, losing badly. It made her wonder what other assumptions the galaxy had gotten wrong. "Admiral," her communications officer called, "I am receiving a priority signal from Strategic Command." "Put it through," Torres ordered. General Mendoza appeared on the screen. Behind her, dozens of officers worked at their stations. "Admiral, the Council station is broadcasting this battle live. Every species in the galaxy is watching. How do you want to proceed?" Torres thought about that. The whole galaxy was watching. Good, let them see, let them understand. "General, I recommend we activate the grid now. Let's show them everything." Mendoza nodded. "Agreed. Grid authorization code is active. You have control." Torres turned to her operations officer. "Activate all defense platforms. Full power. Light up the grid." The operations officer entered commands. Then she looked up. "Grid is active, Admiral. All platforms responding. We have lock on 3,000 vessels." Throughout the solar system, thousands of satellites suddenly stopped being satellites. They had been there for years, small, quiet, invisible to most scans. They had flown past hundreds of them without noticing. Now they all powered up at once. Defense platforms near Earth, defense platforms near the Moon, defense platforms scattered throughout the asteroid belt, even platforms hidden in the rings of Jupiter. All of them came online. All of them targeted enemy ships. On the devastating fury, alarms screamed. X looked at his displays and saw red markers everywhere, above his fleet, below his fleet, on every side. His ships were surrounded. "Commander, I am detecting massive energy signatures," his sensor officer shouted. "They are coming from everywhere. There are thousands of them. Weapons platforms, they were hidden. We flew right past them." "How many?" X asked, but he already knew the answer would be bad. "Over 4,000 platforms, Commander. Each one is armed. They are targeting our ships." X felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear, real fear. His fleet was trapped. They were deep in the human solar system. They were surrounded, and they had no idea how strong these platforms were. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Scatter the fleet. Do not give them easy targets." But it was too late. The grid fired. 4,000 weapons platforms opened fire at once. They used the same rail gun technology as the human ships. Metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. They came from every direction. They tried to dodge, but there was nowhere to go. If they avoided one shot, they moved into the path of another. Hundreds of ships were hit in the first volley. Shields collapsed, hulls cracked, some ships exploded, others went dark. The perfect formation broke apart as ships tried to escape. "Return fire," X commanded. "Destroy those platforms." The fleet fired at the platforms. Plasma beams lanced out toward the small satellites. Some hits connected. Platforms exploded in bright flashes, but there were so many, and the human ships were still fighting. The 300 EDF vessels pressed their attack. They moved with perfect coordination. Every shot found a target. Every target fell. Lieutenant Stephen Park checked his display. Battle Group Beta is engaging the carriers. Battle Group Gamma is moving to cut off their retreat path. "How many enemy ships have we disabled?" Admiral Torres asked. 1,463, Admiral. Another 800 are heavily damaged. They are withdrawing toward the edge of the system. Torres nodded. "What are our casualties?" 3 ships with minor damage, no ships lost, 0 crew casualties. It had been 20 minutes since the battle started. They had lost nearly half their fleet. The humans had lost nothing. It was not a battle, it was not even a war, it was a demonstration. On the flagship, X made a decision. It was the hardest decision of his life, but it was the only choice left. "All ships cease fire," he commanded. "Withdraw to Jupiter orbit. Do not engage the human fleet." "Commander," his tactical officer stared at him. "Are we retreating?" "We are surviving," X said. His voice was heavy. "We cannot win this battle. If we continue, we will all die. The humans have shown us mercy so far. They could have destroyed us all in the first minute. Instead, they disabled most of our ships. They are giving us a chance to surrender." He opened a channel to the human fleet. "Human vessels, this is Fleet Commander X. I request a ceasefire." On the Valiant, Admiral Torres held up her hand. "All ships cease fire. Hold your positions." The space fell quiet. No more plasma beams, no more railgun rounds, just thousands of ships hanging in the darkness. Some were intact, some were damaged, some were dead in space waiting for rescue. Torres opened the channel. "Fleet Commander, I acknowledge your request. We will cease fire. State your intentions." X took a deep breath. "Admiral Torres, the Empire hereby surrenders. We acknowledge defeat. We request permission to recover our damaged vessels and withdraw from your system." The words tasted like poison. Surrender. They had never surrendered, not in 800 years, but there was no other choice. To continue fighting would be to throw away thousands of lives for nothing. Torres was quiet for a moment, then she spoke. "Fleet Commander, your surrender is accepted. You may recover your crews from disabled ships. You may repair vessels enough to make them jump capable, but your weapons will remain offline. Earth vessels will escort you to the edge of the system. Any hostile action will result in the immediate destruction of your fleet. Do you understand?" "I understand, Admiral," X said, "and I accept your terms." "One more thing, Commander," Torres said. "You will leave behind your weapons systems. We will disable them on all your ships before you depart. You will not return to your empire with the capability to attack anyone else until you rebuild. That will take time. Time for you to think about what happened here." X wanted to argue. It was humiliating to return home disarmed, but he had no leverage. The humans could destroy his entire fleet anytime they wanted. "Understood, Admiral." The channel closed. X slumped in his chair. Around him, his crew was silent. They had all heard. They all understood. The mighty empire had been defeated, crushed, and the humans had done it in less than an hour. At the council station, Corinne Phillips stood in the observation room. Dozens of ambassadors crowded around her. They had been watching the battle on the screens. Some had cheered. Some had stayed silent. All of them were shocked. High Counselor was there too. He stood apart from the others. His face showed no emotion, but his 4 arms hung limp at his sides. He looked defeated. Ambassador Aura approached Karen. "I have never seen anything like that," they said. "The fleet was destroyed in minutes, and your people held back. They could have killed everyone." "We do not want to kill," Karen said. "We want to live in peace, but we will defend ourselves if we must. They needed to learn that lesson. Now they have." "You hid your strength," Aura said. "It was not an accusation, just an observation. All this time Earth could have shown its power. You could have made demands. You could have taken territory, but you did not. Why?" Karen looked at the screen. It showed the fleet limping toward Jupiter. It showed human ships escorting them, making sure they left. Because power without wisdom is just violence. We learned that lesson the hard way. In our past, we used our strength to hurt each other. We fought wars that nearly ended our species. We do not want to repeat those mistakes, so we stay quiet. We stay peaceful. We only show our strength when someone forces us to. Ambassador, the crystal being, spoke up. "The galaxy will never see humanity the same way again. Everyone watched this battle. Everyone saw what you can do. They will fear you now." "Perhaps," Karen said, "or perhaps they will respect us. Fear is temporary, respect lasts. We showed strength today, but we also showed mercy. We disabled the fleet, but we did not destroy it. We let them surrender. We let them go home. That matters." Finally moved, he walked slowly toward Karen. The crowd parted for him. He stopped a few feet away. For a long moment he just looked at her. Then he spoke. His voice was quiet, nothing like the booming voice he had used in the council chamber. "I was wrong," he said. "I thought humans were weak. I thought you were children. I was wrong. We were the children. Attacking you was madness. The other ambassadors tried to tell me. I did not listen. Now my cousin X leads a broken fleet. Now the Empire is humiliated. This is my fault." Karen nodded. "Yes, High Counselor, it is your fault. You started a war that did not need to happen, but it is also your responsibility to end it properly, to make sure this never happens again." Hal asked, "How do we come back from this?" "By learning," Karen said. "By understanding that strength is not just weapons and ships. Strength is knowing when to fight and when to talk. They are strong, but you forgot that others can be strong too. Never make that mistake again." Bowed his head. It was a gesture of respect in his culture. Then he turned and left the observation room. His pride was wounded. His empire was beaten, but he was still alive. His people were still alive. That was something. The other ambassadors began to leave as well. They would return to their worlds. They would tell their leaders what they had seen. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted. Earth was no longer the young species asking for permission. Earth was a major power now, whether they wanted to be or not. 3 days after the battle, the Galactic Council convened again. The chamber looked the same as always. Thousands of seats rising in circles. The central platform where speakers stood. The soft lights that accommodated hundreds of different species, but everything felt different. Karen Phillips walked to the platform. This time, she did not walk alone. Behind her came Admiral Torres in her dress uniform. Next to Torres walked General Lisa Mendoza, and behind them, surprisingly, came Fleet Commander X. They looked different. His armor was simple now, not the elaborate war gear he had worn before. His 4 arms hung relaxed at his sides, but his head was high. He had lost a battle. He had surrendered, but he was not broken. The council members watched in silence. They waited to see what would happen. Would Earth demand tribute? Would they claim territory? Would they humiliate their defeated enemy? Karen reached the platform and turned to face the council. "Members of the Galactic Council, I come before you today to discuss the terms of peace between Earth and the Empire." High Counselor sat in his seat. He looked smaller somehow. The defeat of his fleet had shaken him, but he listened. "First," Karen said, "let me be clear about something. Earth did not want this war. We did not ask for it. We tried to avoid it. But when the Empire declared their intention to invade we had no choice but to defend ourselves. She paused, letting her words sink in. The battle lasted 47 minutes. In that time, the lost over 3,000 ships. Another 1,500 were disabled. Earth forces suffered no casualties. No ships were destroyed. We demonstrated overwhelming superiority in every way. Some of the council members shifted uncomfortably. They were remembering how they had Earth, how they had thought the humans would be crushed, how wrong they had been. But Karen continued, we also demonstrated restraint. We could have destroyed the entire fleet. We could have killed every soldier aboard those ships. We chose not to. We disabled vessels when possible. We only destroyed ships when we had no other option. And when Fleet Commander X requested a ceasefire, we granted it immediately. She gestured to X. Fleet Commander, please join me. X stood and walked down to the platform. It took courage to face the council after such a defeat, but he had that courage. He stood next to Karen and looked out at the thousands of watching ambassadors. Members of the council, X said, his voice was steady. I led the invasion fleet against Earth. I believed we would win easily. I believed the humans were weak and unprepared. I was wrong, not just wrong, I was foolish, arrogant. I ignored warnings from ambassadors who knew better. I dismissed intelligence that contradicted what I wanted to believe. And because of my failure, thousands of soldiers are injured or dead. Thousands of ships are destroyed. He took a breath. But I stand before you now because the humans showed mercy. They could have killed us all. Instead, they let us surrender. They let us recover our wounded. They escorted us to the edge of their system and let us go home. They treated us with honor even though we deserved none. Stood, Fleet Commander, you are not solely responsible. I authorized this war. I pushed for it in the council. The fault is mine as much as yours. Then we share the blame, High Counselor, X said. But we also share the responsibility to make this right. Karen nodded. Which brings us to the terms of peace. Earth has discussed this with the Empire over the past 3 days. We have reached an agreement, and it is not what most of you expected. She brought up a display that everyone could see. It showed a document, a treaty. First, Karen said, Earth demands no reparations. They will not pay us anything for this war. They attacked us, yes. They lost, yes. But we will not take their wealth. Murmurs spread through the chamber. No reparations. That was unheard of. Victors always took payment from the defeated. Second, Karen continued, Earth claims no territory. We will not take worlds. We will not occupy their space. We will not restrict their movements or their trade. The murmurs grew louder. No territory either. What kind of victory was this? Third, Karen said, Earth asks only 2 things. 1, that the Empire formally recognize our sovereignty and agree not to interfere with our expansion into unclaimed territories. And 2, that both our nations work together to investigate why this war happened, not to assign blame, but to understand the mistakes that led to it, so that neither of us makes them again. She looked at X. Fleet Commander, do they accept these terms? We do, X said firmly. More than that, we are grateful for them. Ambassador Phillips, your people have shown us something important. You showed us that true strength is not just about weapons. It is about knowing when to use them and when to show mercy. There have been warriors for centuries. We have won many battles, but we forgot something along the way. We forgot that the strongest warrior is the one who does not need to fight. Admiral Torres stepped forward. If I may add something, she said, Earth has another proposal, one that goes beyond this treaty. Karen nodded. Please, Admiral. Torres faced the council. Earth is willing to share our defensive technology with the Empire. Not our weapons, but our shield technology, our sensor systems, our detection grids. We believe that every species has the right to defend their homes. There have been peacekeepers for the galaxy. They have stopped wars before they started. They can continue that role, but they should do it with better tools. Stood again, you would share your technology with us after we attacked you. Yes, Torres said, because we understand something. They attacked us out of fear. You feared that humanity would become a threat. You wanted to stop us before we grew too powerful. That fear came from not knowing what we were really like. If we share our technology, if we work together, that fear goes away. And maybe the next time someone threatens the peace, Earth and the can stand together to stop them. The chamber fell silent. Everyone was trying to process what they were hearing. Earth had won a complete victory. They had proven their strength beyond any doubt. And instead of using that strength to dominate, they were offering partnership. Ambassador Aura spoke up. Ambassador Phillips, I must ask, why? Why are you being so generous? They tried to destroy your world. You owe them nothing. You could demand anything and they would have to agree. So why ask for so little? Karen smiled. Because we learned something a long time ago, Ambassador. On Earth we fought terrible wars, wars that killed billions, wars that nearly ended our species. We built weapons that could crack continents. We created diseases that could wipe out populations. We had all that power, and we used it against each other. For what? For territory, for pride, for fear of what others might do. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many ambassadors as she could. We learned that power without wisdom leads only to destruction. We learned that making enemies is easy, but making friends is harder and more valuable. We learned that the strongest nations are not the ones that defeat everyone else. They are the ones that help everyone else. That is the lesson Earth paid for with billions of lives. That is the lesson we want to share with the galaxy. General Mendoza stepped forward. Let me be direct, she said. Earth has over 8,000 warships. We have defensive platforms around all our colonies. We have weapons that can destroy fleets, but we do not want to be feared. We want to be trusted. Fear makes people desperate. Desperate people do foolish things, like attacking a world they know nothing about. Trust makes people rational. Rational people talk before they fight. She looked at X. Fleet Commander, you are a good warrior. You made a mistake, yes, but you also knew when to stop. You surrendered to save your people. That takes more courage than fighting to the last ship. Earth respects that courage. We want to turn that courage toward protecting the galaxy, not threatening it. X bowed his head. General Mendoza, Admiral Torres, Ambassador Phillips, you honor us. They accept your offer. We will work with Earth. We will share what we know. And we will stand with you against those who threaten the peace. Descended from his seat, he walked down to the platform. The chamber watched as the High Counselor of the Empire approached the human delegation. When he reached them, he extended one of his 4 arms. Karen took his hand. It was a human gesture, but had learned it. He learned it because he wanted to show respect, to show that he understood Earth was not an enemy, not anymore. On behalf of the Empire, said, I apologize for the war we brought to your world. I apologize for the arrogance that led us to attack you, and I thank you for the mercy you showed us. From this day forward, they will consider Earth to be friends, allies, brothers and sisters in the work of keeping the galaxy safe. Accepted, Karen said, and returned. Earth looks forward to working with the. We believe that together we can accomplish more than either of us could alone. The council erupted, not in anger or fear, but in applause. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds showed their approval. They had witnessed something rare. They had seen enemies become friends. They had seen strength combined with compassion. They had seen what was possible when people chose understanding over violence. Ambassador spoke over the noise. Ambassador Phillips, the Council recognizes Earth as a major galactic power. Your military strength is clear, but more than that, your wisdom is clear. The Galactic Council offers Earth a permanent seat. You would have full voting rights, full access to all Council resources, and a voice in all matters of galactic importance. Karen looked at Admiral Torres and General Mendoza. They nodded. She turned back to, the Galactic Council honors us with this offer. Earth accepts. We will take our place among the other great civilizations, but we will not forget what we are. We are still young. We still have much to learn. We hope the Council will have patience with us as we find our way." "The Council will have more than patience," said. "The Council will have respect. You have earned it." 1 month later, Karen stood in her office on the Council station. Through the window she could see space. Stars scattered across the darkness. And ships, lots of ships, human ships and ships flying together. They were on patrol, protecting the trade routes that connected hundreds of worlds. It had happened fast. After the treaty was signed, they had been eager to work with Earth. X had personally overseen the technology exchange. Human engineers taught crews how to use the new shield systems. Warriors taught human soldiers about their combat tactics and strategies. The two militaries were learning from each other, building something new, not just an alliance, a partnership. Brandon entered the office. "Ambassador, we just received a message from Earth. The President wants to know if you are ready to come home. You have been here for 3 months. You could use a break." Karen smiled. "Tell the President I appreciate the offer, but I am not ready to leave yet. There is still work to do, treaties to negotiate, relationships to build. Besides, I am finally getting used to the food here." Brandon laughed. "Nobody gets used to the food here." "True," Karen admitted, "but I am trying." She looked out the window again, at the human and ships flying together. "Brandon, do you think this will last, this peace we built?" Brandon joined her at the window. "I think it will last as long as we work at it. Peace is not something you achieve once and then forget. Peace is something you build every day, with every conversation, with every treaty, with every choice to talk instead of fight." "That sounds wise," Corinne said. "I learned it from you," Brandon replied. Below them on the planet the Council station orbited, life continued. Millions of beings from thousands of worlds, all living together, all working together. It was not perfect. There were still arguments, still disagreements, still problems that needed solving. But nobody was shooting at each other, and that was something. Karen thought about Earth, about the billions of people living their lives, working, loving, building families, dreaming of the future. They were safe now, not just because of Earth's military strength, but because the galaxy understood something important. Humanity was not a threat. Humanity was a partner. And that understanding was worth more than any weapon, more than any number of warships, more than any victory in battle. Karen smiled and returned to her desk. There were reports to read, messages to answer, a galaxy that needed attention. It was good work, important work, the kind of work that made a difference. And for the first time in a long time, Karen felt truly hopeful about the future, not just for Earth, but for everyone.